Hi, welcome back to the foundation course on communication and soft skills with the special emphasis on today's video tutorial is for presentation skills. Let's understand what is a presentation all about and how do I make it effective and how do I make that first impressions while I am presenting either a conversation or a topic for a job discussion or maybe in a real life scenario, that is either at a university or a college level. So presentation skills and public speaking skills are very useful in many aspects of our work and life. Let's really understand this fact that only through these two skills you can either convince, persuade and make your presence felt. Effective presentations and public speaking skills are important in business, sales and selling. So, in case you are already at a business context or you are at a university where you have to submit your project, maybe you have to give a viva examination, or maybe if you have to present in the interview discussion, effective presentation is one of the most important skill to go by. So, to understand that in order to sell, train, teach or lecture, generally we all have to be comfortable. Unless and until you are comfortable, you will not be able to give out that specific learning of yours towards the knowledge transfer. So, developing the confidence and capability to give good presentation is one of the most important aspect, and to stand up in front of audience and speak well is the second most important thing. So, it is very important to understand that presentation is just not about having a good PowerPoint handy, but also in terms of my body language, my speaking skills, my conversation skills, which can account to an overall effectiveness of presentation. To keep in mind also, you have to be extremely well developed in the competencies such as all your 4 language skills, like we keep repeating the word language again. So, your language skills, which are 4: listening, speaking, reading and writing. Listening, speaking, reading and writing, 4 language skills that we all have to look forward to master it and make your overall effective presentation felt with these 4 language skills. Now, moving on to understand, again like speaking, presentation skills are of 2 form again, which is formal presentation and informal presentation. So, in order to understand the formats and purposes of presentation, that can be very different basis on the context. So, for example, oral or spoken or multimedia using various technologies like visual and audio presentation, it is a different context. Powerful presentations, short impromptu presentation, long planned presentations or educational training sessions and lectures has a different context altogether. And to keep in mind the other thing, that is simply by giving a talk on a subject to a group of volunteer basis for pleasure is a different context again. Even speeches at wedding and eulogies at funerals are types of presentation. Get this very clear. So, when I am giving a speech, when I am talking on the wedding day, or when I am actually talking on somebody's behalf, I am presenting there because I am giving out information and my overall effectiveness is calculated. Moving on, yet every successful presentation uses broadly the essential techniques and structures that we all are supposed to follow. So, the broadly a typical presentation will follow 3 different types, and this is the only technique that can allow us to make our presentations effective. Outstanding opening, and then we have body of the presentation, and then we have conclusion or the end. So, I repeat, opening, body of the presentation, and conclusion, that is end or the how you conclude a presentation. So, keeping in mind these 3 pointers plays a very important role, and this can actually allow you to make your presentations effective and make presentations more accepted. So, how to make an effective presentation? I am sure we all have this question as to know how do I go about it and make it more successful, make it more effective. So, before we actually move on, let us understand, just a reminder again, opening, body of the presentation and conclusion to keep in mind. And then we will talk about the word presentation. So, topic of the day is presentation skills. Yeah. A structured, prepared and speech-based means of communicating information or ideas to a group of interested people in order to inform or persuade them. So, let us look at the slide and understand. Let us look at this presentation. Okay. So, what is presentation? A structured, prepared and speech-based means of communicating information or ideas to a group of interested people in order to inform or persuade them. So, this is a proper and a formal definition of the word presentation, and understand it is a verb, and the pronunciation of this word also differs. So, it is presentation, not presentation. It is presentation because it is a verb, and all the verbs in English language takes the word stress on the second part of the word. So, let us move on to understand why presentation skills training. So, let us look at the explanation now. So, to keep in mind, we all have to follow certain information in order to make it effective. So, you basically either have to present for various reasons. It could be at workplace, it could be to persuade somebody, to maybe make sure that you are giving the knowledge transfer, you are training somebody, you are educating somebody, you are talking to somebody. So, every time there is a communication happening, there is presentation which is happening too. So, it is important that we go through the presentation skills training to develop that powerful body language which plays a most important role in order to deliver effective presentation, to learn what not to do during the presentation. Like we all know what to do, and it is very important also to understand what not to do. To design and use visual aids effectively, because you can really cater to the learners who are visual learners, and that is how you can actually make your presentations effective. So, remember a incident last time or in a recent time where you heard of a boring presentation and you totally disliked it, you are not happy about it. So, point down few pointers and relate why it was boring. So, once again, remember a time where you were an audience of a boring presentation. So, recall a time where you were bored of a presentation, point it down, go back, relate why was it boring. Okay? So, I will give you a moment's time here. Now, let us come back and understand the common causes of ineffective presentation. Failure to motivate the audience is one of the most commonly seen failures in public speakers. Not every public speaker can motivate the audience, can make the difference in making the presentations better or allowing the audience to have that feel good experience after listening to the particular speaker. Confusing structure could be one among the reasons to make your ineffective presentation. Excessive details, poorly designed slides. Now this is something, the art of PowerPoint, that we all have to learn. Until and unless we master PowerPoint, it's difficult to really master your effective presentations as well. So steps needed to make an effective presentation. For delivering an effective presentation, we need to take the following steps very thoroughly and very seriously as well. So let's move on to understand what it is. So every presentation or a talk requires planning, and then it requires preparation, and then it requires delivery. Planning, preparation, delivery are the three most important key words in order to make your presentation effective. So all these three things can lead to make your presentations effective presentation. So let's understand this one by one. Planning is a stage where you brainstorm your ideas. Planning is a stage where you rehearse and you get the information that you are planning to sell, planning to share with the participants, with the listeners. So you basically brainstorm at an individual level, or maybe you go by the certain structure which has been laid out, that you're supposed to follow that specific structure. And in planning stages, we conclude on a topic. So we are very clear on what to speak because this brainstorming which already happened. And then we move on to the second stage of preparation. So what is happening in preparation? We prepare to that specific structure that has to be conveyed, that has to be given as as a speaker, and this can be evaluated very strongly. So you have to be very mindful of the fact as to what you're trying to settle down on, that is, what are you preparing for. Keeping in mind the different level of audiences, you need to do a little homework about your level of audience, the level of communication style they come in from, the context, whether it is formal or informal context, the style of your communication, whether it matches with the communication style of a person again. Moving on, delivery. How do I deliver? Do I sit and deliver? Do you stand and deliver? Do I take a mic or do I take a collar mic? Do I take a hand mic? All these things can fall into the delivery model. Now every stage needs rehearsing, by the way. So when I'm planning, I have to still rehearse in front of the camera to get it, to get that absolute clarity. When I'm preparing, I still need that evaluation, either by self-analysis or either the person who's guiding us in the process. Delivery again needs rehearsing too. Now these are the three things that can make your presentations effective or ineffective accordingly. Speaking tips for professionals. Now that we are talking about the different steps in order to make your presentations effective. Speaking tips for the speakers would be delivery and power with confidence. Add little humor because that can take human touch in the conversation. 4 steps of perfect presentations, that is visual aids, can be one of the steps to keep in mind, and that can help you to understand that there are different audiences in the group of listeners, and you need to follow the different style. Planning. What is the purpose of your presentation? That is what this stage is all about. That is knowing what question, and that can give you more detailing about why are we presenting and why are we even getting the conversation to the listener. Who will be your audience? That is also homework that we all have to do. What are you trying to achieve through this presentation? So it's important to understand at the planning stage, I question what, who, and what to achieve. So in planning stage, I am talking about what is the presentation about, whom are we presenting this topic to, and what are we achieving after presenting this. Yeah, keep this in mind. So moving, let's look at the slide to get little more clarity. Let's look at this presentation. Yeah. What is the purpose of your presentation? Who will be your audience? What are you trying to achieve through this presentation? Are the three most important things. Now, let's get your focus here on the board. Now that we've spoken about the planning stage, let's design our message accurately, organize your material, design the look of your presentation, and create the slides. So how do I create the slides? With the help of the tool which is part of MS Word, that is PowerPoint, MS PowerPoint. So with the help of that, and we also have different other tools, with the help of these technology tools, you can create the slides, you can make the slides and get your topic up to give the presentation. Yes, there are certain steps to follow once we are at a planning stage. So the steps are: list your objectives. Why are you making this presentation? What do you expect to accomplish? So these are the two most self-analysis and analytical questions to your own self, where you can analyze as to why are we presenting. You can analyze what do we want to accomplish from this particular presentation. So these are the two questions that I want everyone to go ahead and understand. Now step 2 is the focus on audience. So what do I focus? Who are there? That is a level of audience who are participating. Focus on what your audience needs to know, not what you want to give out. So the effective manner to give out the best presentation is focus on what your audience is looking for, not what you want to convey. Consider audience's level and the interest. Decide what you want the audience to do as a result of your presentation. So it's important that you understand what level of audience that you're speaking for and the result of whether they are interested or how and what you're going to accomplish. Step 3 is very simple: determine the message. So tailor the points to the audience's technical level, information needs and interest. Modify the presentation for each new audience. That is something to keep in mind. Tailor-made, that is to customize it as per the requirement, as per the job of an effective speaker, to cater to match the need and requirement of a listener, of a participant or your audiences, and then modify the presentation in case you are unable to achieve so. So let's look at the board once again. I want your attention on the board. So we can focus on planning as the first stage, and then we move on to different stages. Like in planning, we already said what the presentation is all about, whom the presentation is being catered to, and what are you achieving out of this presentation as such is important. Now moving on to understand the second stage of preparation. Well, fundamental rules of presentation has to be followed here. Simple. Subject of presentation, that is, decide your message in advance, and then have a strong conviction of what you want to talk. So understand, decide your message well in advance, that is in the planning stage, in the rehearsal stage, you have to decide what you want to convey and have a strong conviction of what you want to talk about. That is something you have to keep in mind. So let's look at the slide so that you can grab the information. Fundamental rules of presentation are: subject of presentation, decide your message in advance, have a strong conviction of what you want to convey. Let's look at the second slide on the preparation. Organize your points logically. That is what you want to say at the beginning, what you deal in the middle, and how to close. So let's look at the board to explain this in detail. In order to organize your thoughts, you're supposed to follow 3 different steps. That is what to say in the beginning, in between your presentation, and then how to end your presentation. So once again, all you have to do is focus on 3 most important stages under organizing your thoughts. That is beginning, in between, and towards the end. That is how you can basically summarize the entire presentation too while you're closing the presentation. So once again, the beginning, how you deal in between the presentation, and how do you close and summarize your presentation. So preparation again has third point too. Rehearse in private. You need to practice delivery of presentation because practice makes a person perfect. So not just man or woman, but anybody for that matter who practices can master the art of presentation skills. Now fourth point to keep in mind is keep notes to a minimum. If necessary, use index cards, jot down the main important points. So now this is, we have to remember, let's get this explained very clearly, that in order to speak fluently, main points have to be rehearsed. So main point could be a point such as listening as a keyword. And what I can do is, just picking up this keyword, I can continue speaking, I can give out information, and because this was something as a speaker I selected as a main word, a keyword. So start collating main points, main words, so that you can effectively speak without a stop in your communication. Then most important thing, how do I conquer nervousness? Smile. Smile often, it can really help you to conquer and make your presentations effective. So these are the 9 P's how to overcome your fear of public speaking, because presentation is nothing but public speaking, and every speaking act that we do, we are presenting. So let's look at these pointers. Prior and proper mode of presentation. Preparation prevents poor performance of the person putting on the presentation. So it's an effective way. 9 P's. Prior and proper preparation prevents poor performance of the person putting on the presentation. So your proper planning and rehearsing can make you an effective speaker. And planning, guys, is the most important stage. When we look at these 3 stages, this is the most important stage, requires lot of effort, lot of consideration, lot of evaluation, after which this stage and this stage can be relatively worked upon without much exposure, without much inputs from the others. So remember the 9 P's, and yeah. So don't be afraid. Sometimes an audience may seem intimidating, like we all go through these stages. So each time when you talk, people might end up staring at you. People might end up looking at you, and they do not overlook, but they look at you. So just ignore. But always remember, there are also people like you. That is, imagine that you are addressing your friends. So always have this imagination each time when you're talking and you are giving a public speech or a public presentation, that people do like you and people are like you. Okay. So preparation, try to conquer nervousness, try to minimize your stage fear, take deep breath and try and relax. If required, drink little water. Now this is one of the most proven psychological trick, and a lot of public speakers, they follow it very subconsciously, and you cannot really understand that the person is really nervous. All they do is instantly they hold the glass of water, or they just start drinking water, because in this interim your behavior gets nullified and there is a change in behavior that can happen. So what's happening basically is, where when you are having water, so initially when you're getting started as a public speaker, try and drink water in between the segments of presentation, in between the segments of your conversation or your speaking opportunity. So that can certainly help you, and try and relax, because that can go a long way. Preparation, concentrate on topic and not the audience. Remember, winners continue and losers stop. So let's look at the slide to motivate you in a much better manner. So what are we doing? So concentration on this topic, the topic that we have selected, the topic that we are choosing and we are talking on. Remember, winners continue and losers stop. So give a lot of focus on this statement. Understand why it is spoken or given this as this particular message to all the public speakers. Next is organizing your delivery, that is general tips. Announce your topic very clearly. Give an outline of your presentation in your introduction. State your objective upfront. Announce the topic very clearly. Now there are different reasons to say this and different ways of saying it. The reason number 1 is, you have to announce in order to hold the attention from the start and let the audience know that their expectations are matched, because I'm sure they'll be communicated that they are here for a specific topic, and if the moment you communicate, then and there they will have that attention. And the other thing to keep in mind is, your opening has to be bombastic. You either give a quote, an anecdote, a statistic, figure, or you talk about some factual information, you talk something in a story form. All these are accepted forms of opening a presentation. Okay? So, give an outline of your presentation in your introduction. State your objective upfront. That is, what are you trying to achieve, what are you trying to talk about, what are you trying to say. And then moving on, the delivery method. So, this is the last stage. If you can look up here on the board, while we are discussing planning, preparation, now we are at the delivery stage where the action is executed, where you are giving out the information. So, your eyes, your voice, expression and the body matters a lot for your delivery. And how do you really make it standard and make it acceptable is your eyes have to follow a lighthouse effect concept. That is, you start your eye contact from left hand side and then you move on to the right side, and then you come from the right hand side and then you move on to the left hand side. You are not supposed to stare the person beyond 3 seconds, and that's something the rule book of eye contact. Your voice have to be audible, has to have the right modulation. It also have to follow the rhythm and the music of that language. That is, in case we are speaking English, then we rigidly follow that. And then we talk about expression, that is how expressive you are in terms of conveying the way you are conveying the information, that is through your emotions, through the help of your information that you want to convey. The body language, your postures, your gestures play equally important role again. So, how do we go by following it? That is eyes, which is the first part of your body, and then we move on to voice, then we move on to the expression of our complete facial manner of how I speak, and then we talk about the entire body posture. So, this is very important while we deliver a presentation. Organizing your delivery, the opener. So, tell them that what you are going to tell them. That is, it's very important that we communicate what we are trying to communicate and we are sharing the information. So, set the tone, capture your audience's attention, and then build rapport. Tailor your opener to your audience. That is, you have to tailor make your conversation. So, that is something to keep in mind. Once again, set the tone, capture your audience's attention. Either you animate and you speak and give out that right information. So, the acceptance level is good and the receiver is receiving the information in one go. And then we have the opener, that is how do I get started, that is introduction. Start with a bang to get attention. So, you have to really be completely energetic when you are getting started with presentation. Start with an icebreaker such as a story, joke or a quotation. So, either has to be story, a joke or quotation. Yeah. And then we move on to talk about the opener, and then we move on to talk about how a typical opening session to be. Be warm and friendly, provide facts and figures, throw out a question, it's important. Like I clearly said, either you can give out factual information to gather the attention of the audience, throw out question in the audience to get the information out, and then be warm and friendly to receive the attention from the audience. Organizing the delivery, that is the middle part of in between the presentation skills. Organize the presentation around main aspects of the subject. So, it is important that I give the right information, the main aspects of the subject in order to get the information out. And then we have body of the presentation. So, cover the subject in a logical manner. Repeat important pointers because that might be the most important piece of information that you want to convey and your audience might want to get it. Use visuals wherever possible. The voice should not be too fast, too high or too slow. So, you need to maintain the moderate level of your voice by not being too fast, too high or too slow, a moderate level of voice levels. So, body language, most important element to talk about. Smile, make eye contact, do not lock your arms. So, this is something incorrect. Knees unlocked, head up, move, connect with the audience, breathe and relax. So, take a deep breath, begin in case there is some hesitation where maybe you have been stuck up at or maybe you have really got panicked about what to speak next. This is something to keep in mind for body language. So, organizing the close, tell them what you have told them. So, reiterate the theme, summarize the message, repeat the key points, ask for actions, end on a positive note. I repeat, reiterate the theme, that is what you are trying to convey as a message, summarize a message towards the end of your presentation, that is when you close the presentation. Repeat keywords, key pointers or the main points. Ask for action, that is in case there is certain thing that you are supposed to give out as a most educative part of information, then you ask the person to either make a note of it and try and make the person to repeat the information that they have jotted down and end the entire information on a positive note. So, how do I do it? So, I can do it only through my smile, and you smile, it can take a long way. So, time yourself for a maximum impact, that is I do not have much time left. So, you have to really be good at managing your time because presentation skills are all timed, and when you are giving out a presentation, it is all a timed event. You have to either be very good at your time management or start rehearsing to become good at time management to give out an effective presentation. So, this is something we all have to follow at. Now, moving on, the 3 presentation essentials, let us look at the slide so that you can get the information. Use visual aids wherever you can. Rehearse, rehearse and rehearse. Well, very small thing, but important too. If you fail to prepare, you are prepared to fail. Rehearse against clock, memorize your script. So, keep in mind that your visual aids play important role. Wherever you can, just give out the visuals, the right visuals. I would really want us to all focus on one fact is if you fail to prepare, you are prepared to fail. So, let us look at because this is getting us towards the information where you are supposed to get about not just knowing effective presentation, but all the elements that make you prepared to be effective at. So, designing effective PowerPoint presentation has a lot of planning that has to go in. So, it has to be big, progressive, consistent, simple, yet it needs to have that right summary with good clarity on. So, design the look of your presentation through a very basic tried and tested method, which is KISS rule, that is keep it short and simple. Use short words and short phrases. The 6:7 rule makes lot of sense. Not more than 7 words per line, not more than 6 lines per slide. So, the 6:7 rule plays a important rule, that is 7 words in a sentence and 6 lines per slide can really make a lot of difference. So, let us look at this rule again. Six into 7, 7 words in a sentence, and then 6 lines in a slide can make all the difference. 6 into 7 rule has always been acts as a savior to many people who are getting started and they are very doubtful about how do I write and what do I put in, how much information should I store on a slide, how much information should I delete. So, this can certainly come handy while you are making the presentation. Now, this brings towards the end of what we have learned for this particular session. In the consecutive session, we will continue more about presentation skills, and we will not just learn the how and what of the presentation, but we will master effective presentation. So, I would like to conclude with one thought: if you fail to prepare, so you are prepared to fail in that particular experience. So, next time your preparation, your planning has to be more effective to make your presentation delivery effective too. Thank you for watching and happy learning.